IPMNation.com.
All right, welcome. One of those mornings already. Welcome, and thank you for stopping by the number one rated show on IPMNation.com, episode 254 of The Gong Heard Round the World. You're in, thank you very much, you're in to All Natural Being, broadcast as it happens here on IPMNation.com, allegedly. I'll explain that in a little bit. Ooh, and fly-on-the-wall video here, if you know where you are, over on Facebook. Again, what a morning. But in any event, fly on the wall video right here on Facebook. It's coming to you live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, with rebroadcasts on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are here in the Garden of the Mortals, where we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list. Hands down, placing your primal scream front and center in your life. Why do we do that? Because we believe that reinstalling and reinstating the true wisdom of your whisper is only going to bode well for you in the future. Think about it for a moment. Everything you've always needed, you've always had. So it's time to reboot your robust, to find your ferocious, to out-brutal the brutal in the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold, once and for all. Because why slight your bright? What has that gotten you? But before we hit it today, and Mortal Up Mondays, one of my favorites. But before we do that, I want to say hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, and Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands. To those joining us from all over the globe, it's great to have you with us. I truly am fired up today to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. It's time to mortal up. So what do you say? Let's go kick in some doors. All right, so as you know, we have been working on incorporating all the different things here into the show so that we can, here's the scoop, and working with some of the audio techs this weekend, we have put together absolutely, in terms of the technical aspect, right, the quality, who are you going to go? What are you going to do? But in terms of the technical aspect, we've put together apparently a pretty good audio package for the radio. And we put together, thanks to our friends at Wirecast, we put together a pretty good video package to go out to Facebook. But here's the thing. It's trying to get the two of them to talk to each other that's been such a challenge. So you could say, oh, we'll have a call into the radio. That part we got going great. But then as we go to incorporate the video here on Facebook, it's how to get the audio. Like if you join us on Facebook, how to get the audio from Facebook back out to the radio station. Well, because apparently everything kind of flows one way, right? But not necessarily the other way. So that's what we've been working on. And I don't know, through all the tweaks, Henry and I have been working all weekend long because he's going to be providing a segment now. And also, and I'm going to have him talk about it in the thread this morning, and we'll interview him. I'm hoping that we start with the interview tomorrow where he'll be able to call in and you'll hear him on both platforms. But we're going to talk about transitional radio, and I'm very, very excited about that. Though apparently, and all the tweaks and this and that we tried to do, we knocked my connection off of Radio Jar. We knocked it off of IPMNation.com. So this morning, it's entirely possible that if you're tuning in to IPM Nation, you're hearing Friday's show, which, right, it was a good one. I'm pleased with that. But we're still trying to work out a little bit of the audio here. So that's what we're up against. I think we're here live on Facebook. If anyone, I should probably pop into the thread and see what's going on. Yeah, but we somehow, through all the tweaks, all the, all the different things, we now can't get out to IPM Nation. Into Every life a little rain must fall, which is a good thing because here in Columbus, Ohio, that's about all it ever does. All right, so Mortal Up Mondays. We have so much to talk about today. I put a little tweet, as you know. I start out each morning putting a little tweet out, and here was the contents. All I really wanted to talk about was everyone seems hell-bent on wanting role models in life, right? Oh, he needs to be a better role model. She needs to be a better role model. We all want to be better role models. But then I started thinking about it. How about some of these meager minds? How about some of these brittle brains, right? Just how about some of these compromised cognitions? Why would we look to them to be the role models? And that's what I want to talk about this morning. We'll hop in the thread, see who's here. But basically, here was this thing yesterday. And let me do this. I'll get into the thread and then we'll come back here because I'd like everyone's input to it as well. So, you can't get through the weekend anymore without looking at some of these different things, and people go, the one that jumps to the mind most, right to the top of the list is that, all right, well, now what are we doing? I don't want to swipe left and reveal comments. All right, so can I go here? Can I go here? No? Okay, can I go here? All right, there we go. Janice, good morning. Thank you for joining us here on All... What is going on, Janice? Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on All Natural Being. We're talking this morning about compromised cognitions and how people that set out or purport themselves to be role models, how is it? Oh, thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you for the shares very much. So we're talking this morning about what it takes to finally say enough to these compromised cognitions. I was watching a news report the other day, and I don't think I'll probably call the people out by name because it doesn't really help at all, but someone had asked him, a news reporter, a question. He goes, well, I'm very offended by that question. Well, I think what he was offended by was that the person that he normally gets to grill was grilling him, and now he was offended by having the tables turned, right? But he said, I'm very offended by your comment. So it made me start to think, some of the people that we look to in the news, some of the people that were like, oh, no, these are the experts in life. This is, these are the cream of the crop. Well, these are the very people with the compromised cognitions that are the role models, that are teaching our children to be, oh, okay, look, stop, right? That are teaching our children or anyone else watching that you should be played like a puppet. You ought to have the ability for someone to go, you ought to be offended. You ought to be irritated. You ought to be outraged. You ought to be other things. But what does it teach a human mind? What does it say when we're convinced that everyone around us gets more of a vote in our own hearts than we do? And that's the meager minds that I'm talking about. That's the compromised cognitions that I'm talking about. Because ultimately, if we look at them at the role models, and I thought of you this morning, sis. Here we go. Right? All these different opinions buzzing around, and we're like, which one are we gonna take? And it's been my experience that the people that scream the loudest are the ones that know the littlest. I like this one too, I think. Right? And you're going, what the heck is going on? I saw this thing. Now, I don't want to get in trouble because I have a lot of good friends, and Janice, maybe you can tell me a lot about it. A lot of good friends that are into this, but someone was outraged yesterday. I saw a little something where someone was outraged that, I'm sorry, I missed it. I didn't get a chance to see any of the royal wedding over the weekend, but someone was outraged because I think it's Meghan Markle, I believe is the name of the young lady. They were outraged because they said Meghan Markle didn't curtsy to the Queen. And I saw a post on it going, it's such a travesty. One guy who's a royal watcher said, oh, well, if that's the case, she didn't curtsy to the Queen, I don't know what I'm going to do. What? I don't know what I'm going to do. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. All over a curtsy, one human being to another. But what does that do? Good morning, Harry. Nice to see you. Good morning, Kelly, as well. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for joining us here in All Natural Being. We're just talking about where did it become the norm for us to think that we should curtsy, that we should bow, that we should genuflect, that we should kneel, right? So everyone's all worked up now. And these are the people you see on TV all the time. They're like, oh, well, I'll be deeply offended if she didn't curtsy to the Queen. Forgetting just for a second that the term queen, right, just that in and of itself is enough to make me think, wait a minute, so you have human minds. We fought, I suspect, not all that long ago, a war to get rid of kings and queens, but there's something within the psyche that constantly wants to find someone else to bow to. And all I'm going to suggest that if you're going to kneel, if you're going to curtsy, if you're going to genuflect, if you're going to bow in that regard, then it should be the wisdom of your own heart. And then when I saw this guy, he says, I'm absolutely outraged. You know, the Queen lent her the tiara. At least she could have done was curtsy. Curtsy. And then they later found out it was just lousy editing. Believe me, I know how that goes here. But just lousy editing on the TV producer's part, and she did, in fact, curtsy. Oh, heavens help me, thank the Lord. She did curtsy, so, the world can continue to spin on its axis. Whether you think it's flat or a globe, not the point that I want to bring up here, but she did curtsy. So for everyone watching, wondering, oh, what will happen today? Will the sun rise because someone didn't curtsy to another human being? Will the sun even come up? And these are the intellects. These are the meager minds. These, right, are the beleaguered brains that we trust to be the role models. What does that say about the mantle that we're passing to future generations? What does that say? And more importantly, what does it say in our lives if we let that kind of opinion derail us from our daily destiny? So if you take your heart's highest priority, put it at the top of the list, and there's some scientific studies now that show that this whole thing about bandwidth, it really is true if you're busy focusing. I saw this report yesterday that said some of the most intelligent minds on the planet, when it comes to the axons and dendrites, according to this report and this study, when it comes to the axon and dendrites, they have very few that they use for binge thinking. Right? That they don't have all this outside conjecture and opinion that are busy ricocheting around, telling them what to do. Good morning, Lee. Nice to see you as always. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. We were just talking, Lee, that no need to worry. The sun will come up. Not that you'll see it here in Columbus, Ohio, but the sun will come up this morning because Meghan Markle really did. The camera just didn't catch it, but heavens be, Meghan Markle did curtsy to the Queen of England last week. So we can all stand down. No reason, right? Everything will be fine. Cats won't start dating dogs, the whole thing, right? Everything will be good because she curtsied to the Queen. What has happened to us? I just can't figure it out. Yeah, this is gonna be deadly, right? So what we're talking about this morning is these beleaguered brains, these meager minds, these compromised cognitions that constantly want you to do anything except maybe pay a little bit of attention to your own inner wisdom. They want you to do anything except maybe putting your primal scream front and center in your life, placing your heart's highest priority top of your list. They can't have you do that. I know, Lee, right? It was a relief. I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'll sleep. Brother Wallman, good morning, sir, as well. Hope you're well. We were just catch you up quickly. Everything's good in the world. Meghan Markle genuflected to the Queen. What has happened to us? And like I said, I have some friends that are like, oh, yes, I'm absolutely into watching the royal wedding. And I'm thinking, I'm interested in the royalty that is you. I'm interested in the superhuman that is you. I'm interested, right? We should all be interested in that wisdom, that wild wisdom that sits, that you connect with the whisper of your heart. And I have to tell you, interesting fact, I couldn't care less about the Queen of England. I couldn't care less about who her kids marry or don't marry. I could care about your family, what your family's doing, but to get me to be at all interested in any shape or form about a purported royalty, how about the royalty that sits in your own heart? How about that royalty that is you? How about that? TL Eves, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. Thank you so very much. We're just talking about of all the need for role models in our lives today. Let's just not pick these beleaguered brains. Let's just not, right? Let's just not pick these mediocre minds that are hell-bent on convincing us that it's all about some other sense of royalty, some other supreme human being. Let me ask you, when's the last time you curtsied to yourself? I mean, you just walk up to a mirror and curtsy to yourself. People are going to go, oh, that was a little crazy, right? But the point being, what do you do to place your own heart's priority top of your list? What's that going to mean? And then the other one, we ricochet back to television reporter, national television reporter too, one you would think would know better. Says, I'm personally offended by your question. So what has happened to the human psyche that it's a good idea to train future generations of human minds? That it's normal, that it's okay to be offended, personally offended by the question of another person. Instead of being offended, how about you just don't answer the question? But as I said over on Twitter this morning, when will it finally be time to stand up for the watering down of the human mind? Of our human mind? In all the mashugana of the marketplace, everyone trying to sell you this concept that your sense of self comes from all the bling, all the baubles, all the different things that the crowd gets to bestow on you. Well, what if you've been bestowed with brilliance already? What if you've been bestowed with a buried logic? What if you've been bestowed with an authentic vigor? What if everything you've ever needed, you've always had? The moment you decide that it's your opinion that counts, that it's the courteousness that you show yourself that counts. And stop with this need to find a king or queen or politician or, you look at just, it's amazing. The arrogance. I would say ignorance. It's always been interesting to me that arrogance and ignorance are kind of, they sound the same to me. But some of these celebrity, right? We confer this sense of celebrity. Well, when's the last time you conferred a sense of celebrity on yourself? When is the last time you were just flat out grateful for the fact that you were given a human mind? And the last thing you're going to use it for is to cultivate a compromised cognition. And I think, someone said, well, what was the tipping point for you? How was it? And I think probably, the brain tumor going, wait a minute, well, I have a human mind, and now that it's been attacked, and I think about all the other avenues of attack, philosophically and physiologically, of the human brain. And I just woke up and said, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way of doing this. There's got to be a better way than to constantly giving away that superhuman status. There's got to be a better way than giving away that royalty. There's got to be a better way than buying into this habituation of intrusion where everyone and their brother wants to be outraged about this offense or that. And I'll tell you something else that I was thinking about over the weekend. I happened by a store, and there was some, all these displays of superheroes now. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool, but, Thor needs his hammer, Spider-Man needs his mask, apparently Superman and Batman need masks and capes and all these other superheroes that are now out. Well, they need some kind of costume. They need something else outside of themselves. They couldn't possess the superhero strength on their own. They need a cape, a mask, they need tights, leotards, whatever you want to call them. And it goes across the whole spectrum. So that superheroes need something else added on in order to be a true superhero. Well, what if that wasn't the case? What if that wasn't the case? What if it was your buried logic and your authentic vigor in and of itself that made you a superhero? I believe that's the case. I believe that's the case. And I think as we talk about 20-minute victories, if you were to do the same thing, if you were to say, okay, for 20 minutes, I'm going to listen to Brian. What is my heart's highest priority? What is the wisdom? Daniel, good morning, sir. Buenos dias. Congratulations on your award. I saw on Facebook over the other day that you got an award. Congratulations. You deserve it. We're just talking this morning about if you're going to pick a role model, why make it a beleaguered brain? Why make it a maligned mind? Why not make it someone, and you look at the annals of human history, and you go, oh, wow, there have been some really knockdown, drag-out, great people that didn't listen to the opinions of everyone else around them and just put their heart's highest priority top of the list. They ignored all the experts. They ignored all the critics. They ignored everyone and just said, okay, let's make this work. And what would that do to put a smile on your face? Again, smile. It's free therapy. And as we study more, and we're going to crack the code of consciousness, as we study more about trying to figure out what happens to a human mind, that sense, you're more than welcome, Daniel, that sense of gratitude. Doctors now believe that might be what our physiology runs on. That we don't smile because we're happy because we smile. It's just inverted. And that the body's just waiting for a signal. When you stand there and smile, when you're in a good mood, the body goes, hey, she's in a good mood. Hey, he's fired up. And then the body dovetails to make that philosophy happen. Or we could be outraged, we can be offended, we could, all these other things, right? We could find everything. We could have inappropriate hearing, irritable brain syndrome, IBS, overactive hearing, where everything everyone says we take a personal offense to. Or we could decide your opinion, fun fact, your opinion just doesn't matter to me. And I think that perhaps if you spend some more time making sure that your opinion matters to you and not the crowd, then maybe we'd be teaching the people around us to go, just be fired up about who you already are. Just be thankful with who you already are. And what would that unlock in you? When we talk about unleash your legendary, what would it be like if you really did go and kick in some doors today? If you put your heart's highest priority top of your list, you put your primal scream front and center, the wisdom of your whisper, you brought it forward into the world, what would that do? What would that mean? Now, you can read the autobiographies, I'll spare you the time if you haven't already, of the top 100 minds in human history, and they'll talk to you about going against the crowd. They'll talk to you about understanding that it was the relationship with that primal scream, their heart's highest priority, the wisdom of their wild whisper. They'll tell you that in listening to that, you look at Socrates in the trial, if you're familiar with it. He believed that he had that wisdom, Damien, he called it the inner spirit that told him everything. So when everyone was like, don't drink the hemlock, what are you thinking? Get out of Dodge. Even when the people at his trial, when Socrates was put on trial in the city of Athens, he was put on trial, and they were like, oh no, you got to get out of here. And even the judge and the jury, the people around said, look, if you just want to, adios, you want to get out of here, we'll let you live. But that still small voice in him That the wisdom of his whisper said no. And we still recall that story today. Janelle, good morning. Nice to have you with us. Good morning, good morning, good morning. He listened to that inner spirit. He listened to the whisper of his wisdom. And we're still talking about him today. So what could you do today, right now, for the next 20 minutes, 1/72nd of your day, to listen to the wisdom of your own whisper? And as crazy as I sound, what if I'm right? What if manifesting your destiny begins with the listening to that wild whisper? The wisdom of that whisper at your core, of your primal scream, of placing your heart's highest priority top of the list. And how has it benefited any of us from sliding that bright day in and day out, where we give up, where we surrender? You know, we're a big welcome mat and we allow people to come in. And as I said, we'll have plenty of time. 71 more chunks of your day if you go, oh, Bri, I think I'd like to continue to let the committee vote play me like a hand puppet. Okay, great. So all I'm asking for is 1/72nd of your day, one sliver, 1 20-minute victory. To listen to the wisdom of that wild whisper that's in you. We all have it. If we're here, we still have it. The buried logic, the authentic vigor, the natural resources, the grit, the agility, the stamina. And we're given all of those abilities. We're given those natural resources in order to be able to tap them and manifest our destiny. Now, whether you believe you're born with that destiny or it's encoded shortly after birth, tomato, tomato, we're just talking about if you and I are still here, given a human brain, what will we do to stand up to those hell-bent on watering down human cognition? Well, the best way to do it is to constantly, hello from Turkey, Jeremy, good afternoon. Hope all's well. Hope to see you here before too long. Please tell all the guys and girls, am I allowed to say guys and girls anymore? Please tell all the ladies and gentlemen that you're hanging out with there. Thank them for the service. Glad you all could tune in and listen. We're just talking about meager minds. We're talking about beleaguered brains. We're talking about compromised cognitions that constantly look outside of themselves for a thumbs up or a thumbs down from the committee vote. Constantly allowing our environment, peer review, to play us like a hand puppet. Thank you, Jeremy, very much. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope the little guy's doing good, too. You gotta love that. I mean, right, other people go, Bri, really? Did you say you gotta love his cast? It just makes him look bad. I gotta tell you, I saw the picture of him with his hands on his hips. He's got a cast on one arm. Now there's a superhero in the making. So, Jeremy, please tell everybody I said hello. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I apologize. Well, you know, I was going to apologize to the people at IPM Nation if you weren't able to listen to today's show, but they can't. They can't hear it anyway. So thank you for joining me here at Facebook. We call them window lickers. All right, very good. Thank you, Jeremy, very much. Window lickers. What would it take if today were the day to start the week? What would it take if today were the day where you put the wisdom of your whisper, your wild at the core, your all-natural being, what would it do if you put it front and center in your life? If just for the next 20 minutes. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining us. We're going to continue to work on the audio. I think we're finally perfecting it. But thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. We will see you back bright and early tomorrow morning. Have an absolutely fantastic day. And thank you again for all the shares. Thank you again for everyone that joined us. And I'll leave you with this thought. If you're going to curtsy, curtsy to yourself. If you're going to kneel, kneel to yourself. If you're going to bow, bow to yourself. And the fact that you were granted a human brain, that you were granted a mortal mind. And don't let anyone take that away from you by playing you like a sock puppet. All right, we're going to get out of here. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you so very much. Oh, let me just say real quick, thank you to my friends at The Mountain, themountain.com for the wardrobe, nice hooded sweatshirts. Also, tryh2.com if you want to learn about the hyjuvenation process, what I've been doing with the inhalation, the ingestion through the water, the hydrogen water, and why that's made such a huge impact in my recovery. Head on over to tryh2.com. Thank them for sponsoring of the show. And head on over to themountain.com and you'll learn about some of the cool gear, some of the wardrobe things that I have. And I love the hooded sweatshirt. A little warm right now, but later this winter when it gets cold down here and I can see my breath, can't wait to use the hoodies. All right. Thank you all so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being.
IPMNation.com.